it. Okay, here we are.
All right, thank you. It's my pleasure to have Kimberly Lowe, candidate for Congress from Virginia, Congressional District. Her second time with us. Thank you, Kim. How are you?
Thank you. Great. Thanks for having
What?
me on again.
No, thank you for coming back. I mean, the last time we had such a good, my audience loved you,
Oh,
so
thank you.
you had to come back. They've asked, right? I mean, Robin, right? We've had a ton of requests to get Kimberly back. And then, yeah, and you know what it is, Kimberly, about you is, and they see it, you fight for the right stuff. Like when you're talking about, human trafficking, pedophilia, all that sexual assault, abuse, all these things. No one should be against that. You'd think we'd all be able to unite around those things.
You would think you can't imagine what's happening in my district. There's a power play. You've got people who don't want to give up their power. And so there was actually a little girl who was murdered at the age of 2 several years ago. And the family wants to continue to vote for the same person who is not addressing this policy at all. And that shocks me because silencing my voice and having the party establishment silence my voice is silencing the voice for the thousands of children who have been murdered by their abusers across the nation. And I actually just went to a freedom rally in the district. And as soon as I walked in, they came up to me, making me leave, not allowing petition signatures. And you would think that if you were for America and you were for helping children and saving children, that you would want to work hand in hand with someone who has actively been working on policy and pushing policy across the nation to change these things. But they really care more about their power than they care about people. And trying to break through a system is so difficult because they're really, really close-minded, and they don't understand that there's really solutions to the problems. And people just go out and vote for the same thing over and over and over again, with no results. And that makes no sense to me. So, when you're running for office, you're hit by the left and you're hit by the party establishment really hard.
Yeah, no, it's nonstop. I see it here in New York. And it goes all the way down to cities, towns. It's a mess because the same thing you just said there, and I'm glad you said it, is happening right now here, identically, especially with our sexual assault victims in my county and in our area, in our state. Can I ask you something though that I didn't know what this means? What is parental alienation?
Sure. So a lot of times in custody situations, one parent will say things about another parent or basically tell lies in court so they have an advantage. And this ends up changing and altering the way that a child thinks about a parent. It also changes the way that the guardian ad litem and the attorneys and judges view a situation. And you have a lot of false allegations, and families are being ripped apart because of these false allegations. And there are parents who have been fighting for their children for 12, 14 years, and the child ends up believing lies about another parent. And that's a sad situation too.
Very sad. Okay.
And it's happening everywhere, all these false allegations. But the system is set up to destroy the family. It's $1 billion industry. So they always peg parent against parent to do that. And it's the destruction of America. It's really, communism is here. Part of communism is destroying the American family, and it's a business.
And it is a business. And what makes me mad is I don't care what you are. Like you want to be a liberal, you want to be a conservative, you be whatever the hell you want. You be whatever you want to be. These are the things that we should be able to be, all of us should be good on. Like there should be no question of partisan. I don't even understand it. It's one of the things that makes me nuts. How is it, for example, let me give you a quick example of something happening here, and you'll probably have heard this before. We have victims that were children. Now they're adults, and they're coming forward And we had a Child Victims Act here, which let them at least get some kind of justice. Of course, the justice system is set up so those guys can run, the pedophile can run out the clock, but not civilly for 1 year here in New York State. Then they decide to just stop it. Why would you stop doing that, right? Well, I was told why by a state assemblyman here, because there was so much pressure by the Catholic Church and some others. You'll never see it again, I was told. That's pathetic. And
that is really, really sad.
That's why we love you. That's why my audience is so happy to see you, because it doesn't matter.
John, I'm not going to be silenced. I showed up to an event to support a child who had been murdered, and to silence anyone's voice who is fighting to solve those issues is so wrong. And the only way that they deal with it as well is by calling me a liberal when I'm running on the Republican ticket. I mean, you've got to be incredibly small-minded to, number one, not see that this is a nonpartisan issue. I don't know why in the world you would be against fixing something like this. It makes no sense to me. But again, it's people who want to hold their power. They don't want to solve problems. They don't care about children. They care about themselves. And they're going to do everything in their power to hold on. So I always make sure that I won't be canceled or silenced by the left or right. You got to be spunky. We don't need go along, get along, career politicians in Washington, D.C. We need some spunky, loud people to go up there, knock some tables down, and get some policy passed. And I hate to break it to some of these people who are in Congress now. It is your job to pass policy. If you've been in there for over a decade and you can't get bills passed, you need to go home, because that's your job. Yeah. And so many are failing, and they're doing absolutely nothing, and they are not addressing these issues at all.
No, and it makes us feel, we've had this discussion on this show a lot, even if it's just amongst ourselves, and we have a lot of survivors that come on. It's almost like they set it up this way. They have to have it, because, I think, unfortunately, a majority of these people have this issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether they're harassing someone, whatever they're doing. Governor Cuomo here did it. I mean, he stopped an investigation that was coming for him. He started it, and unfortunately, it started going his way, and he shut it down. They set it up this way horribly, and they won't fight back.
Talking about politics, we have a family judge in my district who got in. She made a deal with a state senator when she was a prosecuting attorney to allow a pedophile to walk who had molested a 5-year-old. Let the pedophile walk so that way she could get a judgeship. And she has been actively destroying families in deep Southwest Virginia since she's been in. And it's horrifying. They're making a lot of money by taking children from families who don't have the resources to fight back. And that's incredibly wrong. I mean, the level of corruption in this is disgusting. And really, we are living in a world where these people are rewarded. And it's awful.
But I want to ask you about this. And this is a perfect example. Because when people like yourself or ourselves or whoever is trying to do what's right, the media likes to come forward and try to make you look like you're something you're not.
Correct.
I've had it myself in my little city, and other people have too, where if you're doing what's right and it's hitting home, now all of a sudden you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy.
Correct.
And I've been through it a little bit. You've been through it on a horrible level.
Correct. So you can't imagine the path that I've been through. I've been in national and global news for over a month. I was just in the grocery store this week, and the cheese lady said, I saw you on Roku talking about you, completely false things. If you are out there fighting for the right thing, they will find some way to completely destroy you and take you out. I was in Texas at the border. I was very much so set up. Around the nation, they are setting up people who are a threat to fix any of these issues. And I had false police charges put on me. When they couldn't get me for assault because I didn't assault anyone, they actually even tried attempted murder. They have met with the FBI. They sent out the Department of Homeland Security. They sent out completely false news to the media across the globe. I was speaking to reporters in Australia, and it's completely false information. So if you even talk about trafficking of children through the court system, whatever, they put a big Q beside you in the news,
Yep.
and they call you a conspiracy theorist, and they make up false stories because they want to keep the system the way it is. It's a big moneymaker. So they want to discredit you immediately. So I'm walking that path. I have people in my district that say it hurt my campaign. But if you are believing tabloid news, you know, you need to get a grip. And people need to realize that most of the media today is completely manipulated. It is not true news. I think this is going on with the Russia-Ukraine incident right now. With Russia, this has been going on since the Ottoman Empire. This is really not our business. In my opinion, the media wants to manipulate. So we are like, oh, we got to hate Russia, go get Russia. So that way we can have another war, because wars make money. Yes, they're going to cost us money, but the war machine is a money-making machine. And Trump was one of the few people who had a backbone to keep us out. We've got to have sound foreign policy. Now, had we maintained our independence on energy, and we had not allowed Russia to make so much money in oil, gas, etc., they would not be in this position that they're in right now. And my question is, how much of this invasion is really credible? And I think it's a very divisive thing right now. Everybody's like, oh, Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Well, you know, a lot of people in Ukraine still identify as Russian. They want to be with Russia. This is something that's been ongoing for a very, very long time. And we really don't have business being there. There should have been some type of peace treaty put in, like there already was. But we have a weak administration. And so this is what happens when you've got a weak administration and you allow Russia to make so much money. You know, I mean, they feel like they can just do whatever they want, but we should not have the involvement that we're going to have there. You know, this is something that's been ongoing, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, they both get screwed in a way, Ukraine and Russia, in my mind. They gave everyone a promise, and it was broken. The one was, okay, Ukraine, we're not going to let you into NATO, but we'll make sure everything's okay. But Russia, you know, don't worry, they'll never go to NATO. You know what I mean? Like there was that whole, I think it was 95, 96, there's a whole agreement that no one ever really stood by. I'm talking about the world community. In the United States, of course, I think under Bill Clinton at the time was the one who started it. And it's a mess. And I agree with you.
Here's my question. Yeah. Explain to me why we care so much about the Russian-Ukrainian border, but we don't care about our border when we probably literally have an invasion right now of potentially 5 million people from 150 different countries who have invaded our country. And you're talking about terrorists, MS-13, gangs, extreme drug smuggling. The number one killer in America is opioids. And we're not talking about it. People still want to talk about COVID. Let's talk about why people are really dying in America. And the solution to that is to close off the border. You cannot have an open border policy like this. It's completely nonsensical. And I will say this, 2 people on Biden's team were very responsible for this open border policy. I think they had no idea what they were doing. Those people are no longer with the administration, and Biden is starting to build that wall because I think the administration is like, oh, holy crap, there's a lot of people coming over that we're paying for. I mean, you have to realize that that border affects us across the nation. Everyone who's coming across the border, they're still sending a large amount back, like 59%, but that's the 2 million that have come in that they've been able to actually catch. They are being shipped out to your neighborhoods. The estimate during the Trump administration, when there were less coming through, was that 20% of all of our neighborhoods were sex trafficked individuals from the border. So basically, you have sex houses everywhere in your neighborhood. That was 20% when low numbers were coming in. How much of that is in our neighborhoods now? And these people can't do anything. You know, A lot of it is very cartel controlled now, all the human trafficking and drug trafficking. And you've got the United Nations, the Mexican government, and our government working hand in hand to allow this to happen. And when we allow this to happen, we allow China to control us as well, because all the fentanyl is coming in through our southern borders and it's
And you,
killing people.
and yet, what's funny about all this that you're saying is more people on both sides of the, maybe it's left, right, whatever. There is an intersection where people agree, and if they could just get there, you know what I mean. There's a
Yeah.
spot where
So
people agree with some of what you've said for sure. Like, you know what else too? It's a humanitarian issue down there, right?
thank you. Yeah.
I
So this
mean,
is my point to people on the left. It is not humane to have an open border policy and to make babies and children and families pay everything they have to cartel and then to be drug mules to go across a river where many, many, many people are dying. Children are drowning. They're not making it across. They're drugging children with a deadly dose of Zoloft, so that way they're quiet. They get across and they owe their lives to the cartel. This is not humane. If you're going to have an open border policy, there's got to be a better way to come over. None of this makes sense. It's border patrol discretion with a lot of these policies. These people are not coming over because they're fleeing their country. They're coming over for economic purposes. The Venezuelans, for example, have a lot of money. They are nip tucked. Everything is fixed. They're coming over with multiple Gucci bags. The children are dressed amazing. They're flying into Mexico City and they're walking across because they're going to have a better economic opportunity here in America. It is not all like, ooh, poor families from poor countries.
the big thing that I'm concerned is what you'd said about human trafficking. I think sadly that is happening. I mean, that's just that part of it is completely ignored. I feel,
Correct. So
completely.
I'm concerned about the numbers now that the border is so open. So what ends up happening is there's a migration through the Darien Gap, and you have over 150 different countries coming in to America. They go through a really dangerous area that costs money. A lot of them don't make it through. They get raped or murdered. A lot are at the Guatemalan Mexican border. The United Nations is giving them cards to live on for months so they have money. The Mexican government is giving them a QR code. And then the Mexican government is transporting them from the south of Mexico up to the northern portion of Mexico, where there, those individuals have to pay the cartel and act as drug mules to bring drugs across. And there's so many access points along the Rio Grande. I mean, so many access points. And Border Patrol is so overwhelmed by the numbers that you may only have two Border Patrol officers on a 66-mile span to the Rio Grande. So there's a limited number that they can get. And the reason that the wall is important, it's not because it stops them from coming in. It slows them down so Border Patrol has time to get them, because you don't know who's coming into this country. It's so easy for terrorists to come in. There's large numbers coming in with disease, large number of gang members, the trafficking. It is out of control. It is completely nonsensical. It is the most inefficient thing I've seen in my entire life. I was at the border for 2 weeks, not there for a photo op. I trekked drug cartel trails in the middle of the night to see what's really happening. I was out there in the thick of it. I watched illegals coming across the river all night long, and Border Patrol is going out there, getting them, processing them, putting them on a government funded bus. They then go to a facility. There's so many coming in. They first come into a big facility, then there's a family facility, and from there they end up at a local NGO. One of the NGOs gets around 350 to 500 people coming through on a daily basis, and that's just at one point in Texas. It's horrifying, and it's hard for the NGO as well. Some of these NGOs are really questionable as to whether they're trafficking or not. For example, I was able to get inside one. I made friends with someone who was there working there from Venezuela, and He cried and cried and cried about one girl who had been shipped off, and the family didn't want to go to the host family. And here's a big issue. Absolutely nobody knows who these host families are. A lot of times they use the same address. And really, a lot of these people are being trafficked. So you had this beautiful 16-year-old girl. God knows what has happened to her. She probably had a future as a model, but this guy cried and cried and cried. He goes, "She's such a pretty girl, such a pretty girl." It's bad stuff happening.
Well, yeah, because I know, like, just when you think about the sex trafficking stuff that's going on, it happened. I can only imagine it's pretty much accepted, I feel like, in our society for some reason. And if there's going to be individuals that are really unknowns, it's really sad. It's a humanitarian
issue. Do you know that
a huge
a lot of women and girls are covering themselves in feces to try to prevent from being raped when they come in? I mean, this is not humane, and it's got to end. We've got to end the catch and release. We've got to stop the migration. We're going to stop the migration when we don't say, "Hey, everybody, come here." That's simple. And here's the thing. We ship them off to everywhere in America. They are everywhere in America, and we are paying for them. They basically get public assistance and cards to live off of until they have their hearing. And a lot of them don't show up to their hearing. A lot of them can get fake IDs later and still get benefits. So this is a huge cost to our country. We can't take care of our homeless people. We don't seem to have money for education for our children, but yet we seem to be able to take care of the rest of the world,
Yeah. Kimberly, I want to give you, before I got to let you go, because I know you're busy, the last thing real quick, gas prices. We're dying. It's the largest tax increase I've ever seen in my life. Right now we're at $4 a gallon here. It just hit yesterday. You're going to be one of 435 if you can get in there, hopefully. I don't know.
The solution is energy independence. We have more oil reserves than anyone in the world. We have all of these resources. Same with coal. There's always been a campaign against coal. We've got a lot of quality coal in Southwest Virginia, but the mines shut down. Yet we're buying coal from other countries. And coal's still being used. That's just the fact. So we've got to be energy independent. That's going to lower the cost. That's going to solve our supply chain problems. That's going to solve our Russia aggression problems. Simple solution. We were there, but we've got an administration that wants to destroy America. I think it is their goal to destroy us.
Oh, I think we lost you. Kimberly, I think we lost you. That's okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we end it there? We'll cut it there, but we'll get back to you again, of course, because you've been a great friend to my show. Kimberly Lowe, thank you very much. Congressional candidate, the 9th Congressional District of Virginia. Thank you, Kimberly. Have a good day. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Kimberly Lowe. We were just doing an interview with Citizens United and my phone totally crashed. I'm so sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now, Amber? Are you on there? I don't know if John's going to get back on or not. It's still running a 24-minute live though, even though I disappeared for a while. All right. Well, I'm just going to get off of here. I don't see John getting back on, but thank you for being with us today. We wanted to talk shortly about the border. And then his show focuses on a lot of issues like making sure that there's stricter sentencing and talking about child and human trafficking and domestic violence and issues that people don't want to talk about often. Okay. All right. I'm going to get off. Thank you guys for being on today. Bye.